Welcome, Irish fans, to this week's edition of The Jack Swarbrick Show. On this week's show, we will visit with the outstanding goaltender for the number one ranked Notre Dame hockey team, Cale Morris. 2017 Notre Dame Football Defensive Lineman of the Year, Tillery, will stop by, and one of the senior leaders of the 22nd ranked Notre Dame men's swimming team, Rob Whitaker. But first, to get things started, here is your host, Notre Dame Vice President and Director of Athletics, Jack Swarbrick. And Jack, as always, there are lots of things for us to talk about to start the show this week.
Yeah, well, there's never a shortage of topics with Notre Dame athletics, that's for sure. And
certainly it's just a fact of college sports that when football makes news, it usually moves to the front page. So let's start. The hiring of the offensive line coach, a guy that has been on this staff now for 3 previous years, former head coach. You hired Jeff Quinn. Talk about that process.
Yeah, and it's obviously we have another hire that we'll be announcing soon. That sort of gotten out there, but I'm obligated to stick with the process. But in both, it's the same. It's you bring in multiple candidates, and we're always careful to do that. You have consistency in the interviewing. You want the same coaches. What we did a little bit different this time was we had student athletes directly involved, seeing all the prospects, which was an interesting twist on what we normally do. And you take that input, and you're evaluating fit like we do in recruiting as a key ingredient, and we give our counsel, those of us who participate, to Coach Kelly, and at the end of the day, for assistant coaches, I'm gonna look to the head coach and support the head coach in what he or she wants to do.
Whenever you make a major hire in college sports now, unfortunately, you're trapped by this new parameter. You have to win the press conference, so to speak, and normally only press conferences for head coaches. There would be some that say Coach Quinn, who I've gotten to know in recent years, doesn't necessarily win the press conference. Now, I think one little fact people may forget, he was a head coach, and he was still being paid for his previous job. So Notre Dame actually had the luxury of having some well-priced talent on the staff that you weren't entirely necessarily paying for. That has ended. I think he was ready to move up, and he happened to be here. But he's got a long pedigree. He was a one-time finalist for National Assistant Coach of the Year, the Broyles Award. He's been coaching offensive line since the 1980s. Talk about some of the other things that just, in your opinion, impresses you about Coach Quinn.
Well, the first thing to sort of address in the premise is that we don't feel compelled to win the press conference. It's not a factor in all of this. And listen, that passion that drives whatever it is. I happen to not be on social media, but
that's probably a smart thing, by the way.
The passion that drives it is the same passion that makes Notre Dame Notre Dame. So I don't count on rationality, and I don't worry too much about it. But the reaction we're going to get is never a factor. We're looking at it from the perspective of the program and the student athletes and what will make us most effective. And again, I think the process here is the same process, if you will, that has produced, the assistants that people love. And so you can't know in advance exactly how it's going to turn out. I remember very distinctly when we hired Harry from Tennessee that the reaction was not favorable among a lot of our fan base. They especially questioned his ability to recruit, given how he's populated the NFL and his time with us and the success he's had. I think we can all see that concern, that criticism. Tennessee's rushing performance in the year before he came here, none of those things merited concern. He turned out to be a phenomenal coach, and I have every confidence that Jeff will fall into the same category.
And certainly when he was the head coach at Buffalo, 3 of his players were drafted by the NFL, 1 with the 5th pick. He's got a couple of offensive line protégés playing in the NFL, which include Eagles center Jason Kels and San Francisco 49ers left tackle Joe Staley. And I think it's inevitable in whatever you do, be it law, broadcasting. I've been through this, and even my personal situation. I came to my station, WNDU, from CNN. I was the big shot from CNN. 3 months later, they were outsourcing some things that I could have been doing because you were here. You're always looking. You bring somebody else in. There's a certain panache, and you have a tendency sometimes, and the outside does too, to overlook talent that may already be right under your nose, which is something Notre Dame does not do that often.
Yeah. Again, what you want to do, and we've got an interesting situation in that we had to replace our men's soccer coach, and we'll now have to do the same with our women. Where in each case you've got very strong internal candidates, but the best thing you can do when you have strong internal candidates, like Jeff in this case, is make sure you conduct a national search and a full process, so that they emerge out of that. They didn't emerge out of it because they were your local candidate. They emerged out of it because they were the best candidate for what we needed. And there are elements of this that change from year to year. It's not just the position. It's the fit with the staff. It's the particular needs of the position or position group at that period of time. And these things really do change more than I think people anticipate. And you take all of that in, and you just count on the process delivering the right result.
And you're coming off a year where you created some cultures. The football staff and players created some very positive, successful cultures, both on defense and certainly Harry created an offensive line culture. That is somewhat driven by the players themselves now. I know when you replaced Coach Elko as defensive coordinator, one of the reasons for Coach Lee was to maintain that culture and scheme. And you can make an argument that a similar positiveness to the hiring of Coach Quinn is that same thing, a guy who'd been around the offense and knows and is aware and is a part of that culture that you want to continue.
Yeah, that's very much true, including sort of even more narrowly from a technique perspective. We have good fortune to have some guys with some extensive experience, starting, of course, with Sam and Alex. And you don't want to be asking them to do something different in this year after all they've put in and as good as they've gotten. So that continuity is important. And a lot of this, a lot of the interviewing process is whiteboarding. It's film review. It's set up a practice plan for us. Talk about your drill sequence, and you do that keeping in mind what your needs are.
And you mentioned another coaching change, and one of the things that has become common across the board here is the success bar for most of your programs is pretty darn high. Teresa Romanolo resigned just this week to spend more time with her family, and the cynics out there will say, well, it's probably because she didn't necessarily reach that bar. Now, she did get her team into the NCAA championship tournament each year, didn't win a championship, but in this case, we can put to rest that this is just a polite cover story. This is a young woman with some young children who really does want to spend more time with her family, and her husband works at the university.
Yeah, without question. I mean, she's a year away from the ACC regular season title. I think she did a great job. I would have loved for Teresa to remain our coach. The call came a little unexpectedly, but she had thought a lot about it, and I think decided this was the right time. And all of us, all of us face those balancing challenges in our careers. I know I have a number of times and have made decisions based on what I thought was not necessarily the optimal professional outcome so much as balancing that opportunity with the family responsibilities. What is it? And that's the calculus she engaged in here. And once she told me that, there was no further conversation. I wanted to support that decision. I mean, if something else that I could have addressed had been at issue, I would have been happy to address it and try and make sure she continued to coach us. But once someone tells you this is a personal decision relating to balancing my time and my commitment to my family, then you just say, I'm with you.
And certainly no one who works in college athletics will complain about this because it's a choice. And what a wonderful industry to be a part of. But It does, especially when you're a coach or a head coach. It has a tendency to dominate your life, and even if you don't want it to in season, it does become number one from a time perspective, and that's hard to juggle with young children.
Well, and part of the challenge is there is no season. It's always recruiting season, or it's always off-season.
Right. And I was trying to not make it like, you never have any time off. But you really don't anymore, do you?
No. It's it's the nature of the demands of the business, and it's evolved even in the time I've been here. We've talked about it on the show, but very pleased with the time management rules the NCAA implemented and the role Notre Dame played in helping to implement those. But there aren't time management rules for coaches. It's for our students who are athletes, and they work incredibly hard, and it doesn't matter by sport. There are higher profile sports than others, but in all 26 of our sports, our coaches are putting in incredible hours to try and be the best educators they can.
And certainly with the men's side, you were able to go to Bobby Clark's tree and find somebody not only who played here but coached here and really understands the culture and the program. What are you looking at in terms of finding Teresa's replacement?
Well, again, we'll do the same thing. We want whoever emerges from this process. We want our team to know that person emerged from a national search where we look at everybody who might be a candidate, even if they don't self-identify as a candidate. And we owe that to our players, and that's the assurance when we met with them the other day and told them of Teresa's decision. That's the commitment I made to them. You can be assured that we will find the best person in the country to help you reach your goals, and you can be assured of that because we're going to look everywhere.
The basketballs continue to go on. Arike Ogunbowale is the Atlantic Coast Conference Player of the Week, a women's team that is down to 7 healthy scholarship players, but bounced back terrifically from a tough loss at Louisville.
Yeah, they did. They have, it's typical Muffet, right? She sticks to what her teams do and what they do well, and she's an intense competitor who makes sure her kids carry that same intensity. Played really well in that first half against Clemson. Played well in the whole game, but that first half you could see the pieces come together in a way they hadn't quite come together so much prior to that. And we got a really important stretch here with several tough road games ahead of us. But we never like losing any games, but we've lost the 2 of the best teams in the country, 2 teams that are currently projected as number 1 seeds in the tournament. We're back tied for first in the ACC as a result of Louisville's loss at Florida State. So it's all in front of us. And while we practice a little less and watch a little more film because there just aren't as many bodies around, I couldn't be prouder of them.
Everybody knows how invested Muffet is, but it was kind of fun after the Tennessee game to just see the unbridled joy on her part at what her team was able to do, knowing how hard they had worked to be able to win that game.
Well, and it was so critical, and I think her joy sort of reflected that because they were teetering on the edge there of a repeat of Louisville, right? And that team sort of said, no, we're not going there. And Muffet, was so directed and so calm and so focused on here's what you have to do. And that, obviously best comeback in the history of the program. But it was one of those comebacks that you felt watching it like, yeah, they're going to get there because it was such an uninterrupted march that you could see it. You could see the confidence building. You could see the kids believing that they were going to get there.
And certainly the team that I travel with and commentate on, the men's basketball team, they've now lost 3 of their key cogs at one point or another. As far as I'm concerned, they still have lost Matt Farrell because he's not healthy yet. They just keep battling. They've gone from an offensive juggernaut to a defensive and rebounding machine but they just haven't been able to make enough shots to win some recent games.
Yeah, that rebounding statistic is amazing, because that's the effort statistic,
Yes.
right? I mean, they are giving everything they have to give. It killed me that in consecutive games we just couldn't get it done in the last second. In the case of North Carolina, we just couldn't get that ball, after the first missed shot by the Tar Heels, and then we had the look we wanted against Louisville, and it just didn't go in. And
a couple of times.
Yeah, but especially at the end of regulation, that one was really clean. And I know, a guy who you hoped you'd get 20 minutes out of played.
Yeah, Coach Ray
40 plus.
told Matt he was not going to play 38 minutes, and he was right. He played 44, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
45.
So all you can do, frankly, is beyond sort of curse your fate, is wonder about how amazing these young men are, because they're going to stay after it, and they go on the road against a tough team, and they keep battling back to one possession. Again, couldn't close it out at the end, but as long as they keep doing that, somewhere their luck's going to turn here during the course of this season.
Well, they're still in position. They control their own destiny. They're going to have to win some big games, but they're still there after winning their first 3 in conference to get to that 8 or 9 mark, which just might get them back to the big dance. So we will see. And I've saved hockey for last, not because they deserve to be last, but because our whole next segment will focus on the hockey team. But what a terrific season this team is having, and not just because they're number one, but a 16-game winning streak and really dominance over most of the Big Ten until Wisconsin finally figured out a way at the United Center.
Yeah, as I think I've said in previous years on this show, when I was here as a student, hockey as a fan, was sort of my passion, and I never missed a home hockey game, and so I've followed college hockey ever since, and this is such a remarkable streak. I mean, the things that can impact you in a college hockey season are so numerous, the travel and everything else. To win 16 in a row, not a tie, not a loss in there, but to win them all. That streak came to an end this week, but nothing about the loss diminishes that. This is the best in Notre Dame history. It's the best in Jeff Jackson's history. It's one of the best in the history of college hockey. It's something to really appreciate. And the great thing about this team is they'll get right back focused on the real goal, which is a national championship.
And the other terrific thing is you've really seen, and we've known it for years, the Compton, I think, is unsurpassed in a collegiate hockey facility, but the way it was built, where you could get a lot of people in there, standing room only, just the atmosphere in there when it's packed now has just been remarkable.
It is, and it's great to have the students back.
Yes.
Same way in the basketball arena. It's tough given our schedules, although hockey takes a big break. But our students are gone for a month, plus the week before that, or the 10 days before that is pretty focused on finals. So I really love this time of year when they're all back on campus, and we see them a lot at our basketball games and our hockey games, and really supporting their fellow students.
All right, foreshadowed this a bit, but when we come back, Cale Morris, the outstanding goaltender for the Notre Dame hockey team, will join us on the Jack Swarbrick Show.
Expect a great one tonight.
This crowd is electrified.
Strong drive and one. He'll be at the line. Have not been able to stop the drive.
Farrell bounces it in the lane to Rex Luger. Two-handed jam.
Oh, Colson. Are you serious, Bouncy? Bouncy, are you serious? They love him at the Golden Dome.
Has played a huge role in the Notre Dame hockey team winning 16 of their last 17 games and grabbing the number 1 ranking in the country. Sophomore goaltender Cale Morris is ranked number 1 in the nation in goalie winning percentage at 90% and number 1 in the country in save percentage, having stopped 95.1% of Irish opponents' shots on goal this season. Morris also ranks number 3 in the country in goals against average at 1.67 and 4th in the country in shutouts with 4.
off the ice, Cale is enrolled in the Mendoza College of Business, where he is right now contemplating either finance or OIT as a major. With a big series coming up for the Irish Icers this weekend at 13th ranked Minnesota, we are thankful Cale Morris has been able to carve out some time in his busy schedule to visit with us this week.
Cale, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. You have always been a talented goalie, as reflected in your participation in the USHL, NHL top prospect game. But you seem to be on fire this year. What about your development of a goalie is sort of manifesting itself this year?
Yeah, I think something special about the goalie position is that it does take time to kind of develop and learn what works for you and what doesn't. So I think just the more reps that you get in a game situation can only help you. So it's been a good year so far, and I think I grew a lot last year too as well.
Is there anything fundamentally different about the team approach to defense this year, because you guys have played it so well?
I don't know if it's too different, but we did have a great core of defensive players coming back, and we had a lot of returners, so we knew that we would definitely have a good defensive core. So it was kind of lucky on my part there.
Have you been on any other teams that have gone 16 straight games and won them all, not even a tie?
I don't think so. I mean, I've been on a few good teams growing up, but nothing like this run, so it's been pretty special.
Do superstitions start to arise during a run like that?
I'm not too sure about superstitions, but everyone kind of gets in a roll and just knows kind of what to do before games and stuff. So,
tell us a little bit about your hockey journey, because you played in the USHL for how long? 3 years?
Yeah, 3 years. So I headed to Chicago my senior year of high school, and went to high school out there and finished up. And then a year and a half later, I got traded to Waterloo, Iowa. Played a year and a half there, and then found my way here to Notre Dame.
Did you always anticipate that road leading to college?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the USHL is a great development league to get players ready for the college level, so that was my mindset going into the league, and I was very happy to spend my time there.
When did you start playing?
Goalie, I didn't start playing until I was 10 years old, so a little later, but it's always been something that I've enjoyed.
Why the switch to goalie? I mean, you were what position were you playing as a 10-year-old before you switched?
Well, I didn't. I started skating actually when I was 10 years old, so I grew up playing baseball, football, and soccer, and then I kind of got into hockey around age 10, and it just took over. So those other sports kind of faded away there.
If you hadn't become such a good hockey player, which of those other sports would you be doing?
I'd have to say soccer. I really enjoyed soccer and love scoring goals, so that was always something fun.
Now, as busy as you guys are, do you get to take in any of the other sports here?
Yeah, we tried to. We had the luxury of going to a few football games, which are always awesome to experience here, and made it to a few basketball games, so it's been fun. I mean, all the teams here are doing great this year.
Yeah, I love seeing our athletes sort of supporting each other. Sometimes the student section has some great participation from other athletes. There were a couple of games a few years ago where the defensive line used to show up right behind the visiting goalie for the first and third period. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Great environment. You like playing in Compton?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I mean, you could see it Friday night. The environment was great. The student section band, it's unlike anything else.
Yeah, the band does a great job at those games, doesn't it?
They're incredible. They make the whole place shaking. So,
you know, I suppose your answer is going to be colored by the remarkable success you've had, but how have you enjoyed the Big Ten?
It's been good for us as a team and me personally, and I mean, playing some of the bigger names out there, and I mean, anyone can win a game any night, so it's been a lot of fun playing in those different environments too. The student sections are always awesome wherever we go, so it's been a great transition.
Now, you grew up in the Chicago area?
No, I'm from Colorado, so I grew up there, and then just lived in Chicago for a year and a half.
Whereabouts in Colorado?
Larkspur. It's near Castle Rock, kind of right between Denver and Colorado Springs.
I've made that drive a million times between those two cities, so I know it well. What's a weekly routine like for you when you know you're going to be in net for 2 games? What's the sort of balance between practice and rest? How do you prepare?
Yeah, I mean, going into every week, we try and just get better every practice and approach it kind of like a business. And we have our workouts kind of earlier in the week and take care of the hard work, and then do some fine-tuning towards the end of the week. But, yeah, I mean, our strength guy, Tony Rolinski, is awesome for keeping our bodies at top shape and making sure we're ready for the weekend.
Is your preparation in terms of lifting and other things the same as the rest of the team, or are there things that goalies do differently in that preparation?
No, it's all about the same. They do a good thing adjusting things if you need something. Maybe you're tweaked up in one part of your body and stuff, so he's really good at working with that regardless of what position you are in. It's really just personal development and just getting better each day.
It's typically less obvious when you watch a hockey game than, for example, your other sport, a soccer game. How much are you engaged in instructing your team? The soccer goalie, you can see it pretty directly.
Yeah, I mean, I have great communication with everyone on the ice, but mainly my defensive kind of guys in front of me there, because communication's everything. I'm kind of back there, can see the whole plays, develop and form, and kind of just help them as much as I can, stay on the same page as everyone.
How would you describe your strengths as a goaltender?
I think I'm pretty good on my feet. I have good reactions, and I bring kind of a calm presence to my gameplay and the team overall, so kind of just use that to my advantage.
When did you make the Notre Dame decision, and why did you make it?
It was my second year in the USHL, so I was in Waterloo by this time, and visited a few other schools, kind of got the taste of all other different campuses, kind of big, small, medium, and I visited Notre Dame, just kind of fell in love and found the perfect combination of athletics and academics, so it was a no-brainer.
Now, as a keeper, you spend a lot of time with Coach Jackson, right?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. He was a goalie in his day too, so yeah, we have a good relationship.
Good. No, that's great. And you're in the Mendoza School of Business?
Yes, sir.
Well, what are you studying?
We have to decide here in the next month or so, and I'm between finance and IT, so I think both will be good decisions, whatever it comes down to.
Got any inclination as to which one it's going to be?
Lean towards finance at this point, but I really enjoyed the IT class.
How tough is it to balance the Mendoza load with a very long hockey season?
Yeah, I mean, the hockey season is definitely one of the longer seasons out there, but it's you get in your routine early, kind of, and just get week to week and just do your thing, so it's not too terrible.
Now, you mentioned earlier being able to attend a few football games despite your schedule. The stadium's going to host the Winter Classic for the NHL this year. Will you be able to, if you're around, I know it's the holiday season, make that?
I'm not sure. We haven't really talked about that much, but that would be an awesome time. I have a few friends on Boston and Chicago, so it would be a great experience. I know Winter Classic's a big name stuff, and Notre Dame's obviously going to put on a great hosting event.
Well, I hope you at least get on the ice while it's up there, right, before you have to take off. We'll hopefully be able to keep the ice available for a number of people to use for a few days.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's going to be an exciting atmosphere this week. Up to Minneapolis, right?
Yep, Minnesota away Friday, Saturday. So we have a big challenge ahead of us, but we're excited to get back to work.
And it's all conference games from here until the end.
Mm-hmm. Yep, just conference. I think we have 4 conference weekends left, 4 or 5 there.
Well, you certainly put yourself in a good position to get the regular season title. Good luck the rest of the way, and thanks for all you're doing to make that possible.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a great weekend. We'll be back in a minute.
Billy is sold out tonight.
The anticipation is building.
We're set for the opening tip, and we are underway here at Notre Dame.
Tip, it goes to Young. Her jumper goes.
Jackie Young is going to be a star.
One word that sums up this Notre Dame team pretty well, and that is dominant.
Marina Mabry fires a three. Catherine Westfeld up over the rim and in.
That's Catherine Westfeld.
Enrique fires up the three. Got it. Outstanding.
If you're not here, you're missing it.
Our next guest provided Notre Dame football fans with some great news a couple of weeks ago when he announced he would return for his senior season of competition this fall. Jerry Tillery was named the 2017 Notre Dame Defensive Lineman of the Year, an award presented annually by the Moose Krause chapter of the National Football Foundation and Hall of Fame. Tillery started all 13 games for the Irish last season at nose guard, recording 56 tackles with career highs of 9 tackles for loss and a team high 4.5 sacks. Tillery led all Irish defensive linemen in tackles for loss, sacks, and quarterback hurries with 10. Off the field, Tillery has been involved in student government and has traveled around the world when not on campus. He is an economics major in the College of Arts and Letters.
Mr. Tillery, welcome.
Thank you so much. Good to be back.
Well, that's a good word. Good to have you back.
Absolutely.
You did face a decision that you had to make, a big decision in the course of any football player's life, and you had an opportunity that you had earned. What went into your decision making?
So my parents, they were so helpful. They just said, Jerry, do what makes you happy. And I took that advice and I thought about like what I was doing, and I enjoyed here, and I was happy here, and I thought that one more year at Notre Dame playing football for this university can only help me in accomplishing my goals playing in the NFL.
Well, we are thrilled to have you here, not only because you had such a spectacular year on the field, but the leadership I know you'll provide. And Q and Mike made a decision like you did last year, and part of it was to come back and help lead. And I assume that's part of your decision as well.
Absolutely, yeah. One of my first conversations with Coach Cale when I was in this process was I asked what my leadership role would be, and he assured me that I would have a greater leadership role, and that was something that definitely influenced my decision. But there was other players who were in similar situations, but I totally respect what they did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everyone has different motivations and different interests and things that they want to do. So I think that everyone pretty much made the best decision for them.
Yeah, and that's our obligation, to get you the best information
Of
we
course.
can and have you make the decision that's right for you. And we're thrilled to have you back. Now, before we came on the air, I was asking you what I interrupted by making you come join me, and you said?
So I was actually studying Japanese. I'm trying to learn the language. I'm looking to go to Tokyo this summer. So I thought, I should be able to communicate with the people there, and so it's something I've committed to do this semester. So this is my 7th semester at Notre Dame. I'm a first semester senior. So I've accumulated quite a few credits, and I'm ahead in my major. So I had lots and lots of room, lots of leeway to take pretty much whatever I wanted. So I decided to do this, and I'm pretty excited about it.
This is a very Jerry Tillery thing to do.
Thank you.
Now, does this involve learning to write as well as learning to speak the language?
Oh, absolutely. So far I've learned like 35 different hiragana characters, which is the script in Japanese, and I've started to put them together. I've learned a couple words and phrases, and I'm excited to hopefully land in Tokyo and be able to communicate.
Well, the good news is if you decide to get a tattoo of it, it won't have errors.
Right, exactly.
You'll know what you're getting.
That's right.
Why Tokyo this summer? What attracted you to go
So
there?
I'm an economics major, and I hope to work in business someday. And there was a very attractive study abroad program for the students here that fits into the short time that we have off in between the spring semester and the summer. So I looked into it, and it's a Japan business and culture class that's instructed in Tokyo, and so it's something that I saw, and it was very attractive to me. So I decided to apply to that. Application's still pending, so pray for me, right?
All right.
No, but
well, we've said it on the air. It has to happen.
right, exactly. And so in preparation for that, I was looking for something I could do in my semester here,
right?
And maybe in preparation for that class, and to supplement, whatever I'd be learning there. So I'm in a Japanese history class and a Japanese literature class, and I'm learning the Japanese language. So those are my 3 classes this semester.
That's great.
Thank you.
You and I have talked in the past about your experience in Ireland. Have you been able to maintain some of those relationships and stay in touch with people there?
Oh, absolutely. So I worked at a hedge fund this summer in Dublin, and the manager there, he was so kind. He was great. He's a big Notre Dame football fan now. I sent him some gear and jerseys to hang up on the wall and at the offices and on O'Connell Street in Dublin. So yeah, and he told me, on my departure that he's really interested in me as a person and as a potential trader for him. So he said, please keep in contact. Once the football career is over. I think I will do that, and that's a good connection to have, I think.
Man, you have taken full advantage of the opportunity.
Thank you.
You produce amazing experiences for yourself. coming off a very successful season that,
Right,
culminated with a bowl game win. You must have been especially happy with, given
definitely.
given your home state.
Yeah, I was asked what to describe a euphoric moment in your life in one of my classes recently, and I just described winning the Citrus Bowl in Orlando versus LSU. Such an incredible experience because how close I was to actually going there. That was something that was that would have been the other path had I not come to Notre Dame. And it was I knew about half the players on that roster, and probably all the coaches, and so it was definitely definitely playing the hometown team, and it was exciting. It was a lot of fun getting to get the W against LSU.
And sometimes lost in the in sort of the euphoria and memory of that remarkable catch towards the end of the game is that was really set up by goal line stands that you guys made.
Oh yeah, so we. When you can stop an offense 4 times in a row from the 1 yard line, that's that's something you can really hang your hat on as a defense. And it didn't come easy, but all of our guys on defense really put in the hard work all season, really to leading up to that moment to get us the win over LSU in the Citrus Bowl.
Now, obviously, some changes on your side of the ball, although not with your position group. Have you gotten to spend any time with Coach Lee, or do you have impressions of him as a defensive coordinator?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Coach Lee, he's been around all year, obviously. So I've been in contact and constant communication with him throughout this whole process, and he coaches the linebackers who obviously have to work very closely with the defensive line in any defense. So he was always around, and he has great football knowledge and expertise, and I think that he's a good candidate to lead our defense next year.
Yeah, we're excited about what he will bring to the program. You mentioned the leadership component and the importance of that to you. What are the things you'll focus on in this last year in terms of trying to help lead?
So I just left the Rosenthal Leadership Academy retreat that we have in the woods of Michigan. All of the leaders from different sports who are designated by their coaches as leaders of their teams will go to the woods with some of the sports development professionals here at Notre Dame. So we went there, and one of the things that I committed to working on was my communication, how I can talk to my teammates effectively, not just screaming and yelling at guys, but actually to connect with some of your teammates because you're all there trying to accomplish a common goal, right? So I've been working on that throughout our conditioning and our lifting drills that we're in currently, and I'm excited about my development as a leader, and it's something that I'll really be intentional about this year, and that's next for me for sure.
One of the things I love about that program is you build relationships with leaders in other sports, and you can sort of look to each other if you have an issue, right? And
oh, absolutely.
Sort of
So there was 2 members of the cheerleading team at Notre Dame there, and I was kind of shocked by the realization that I hadn't really communicated or talked to any of them at all. And I was saying, like, Josh, how many times had we been in the same building or stadium, pretty much rooting for the same goal?
Same hotel.
Right, exactly. But, different means, obviously.
Right.
But I hadn't actually connected with any of them or had any meaningful conversations, really. So it was a good experience in that component as well.
You mentioned off-season conditioning. That's well underway. What's that like? What's the routine like for you?
So it's early and it's tough and it's every day. So it's definitely a program that you commit to and you go into, and there's no choice but to your body will change and you'll get stronger and faster, and that's how Coach Bayless and his staff have designed it. We're working every day, lifting at big weights and running sprints, and it's everyone's really bought into what Coach Bayless has brought to Notre Dame, and I think with the turnaround from 2016 to the 2017 season, I think a lot of that has to do with what we did in the off season.
How's your SWAT team doing?
Oh, we're good. We're good. So we had a couple hiccups earlier in the week, but we've been working to get back to the top of the leaderboard.
That's good leadership.
Thank you so much.
Jerry, thanks for being with
Absolutely.
me. I really appreciate you taking
here.
the time tonight. Thrilled to have you,
Thank you so
here
much.
for this semester and at least one more.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
We'll be back in a minute.
He scores! The Irish win! Notre Dame wins!
Our next guest is one of the senior leaders of the 22nd ranked Notre Dame men's swimming team that has compiled a 7-2 dual meet record this season, including dual wins over 7th ranked Louisville, 20th ranked Florida State, and 23rd ranked Purdue this season. Rob Whitaker owns the Notre Dame record in both the 100-meter and 200-meter backstroke, records he set at the 2017 ACC Championships in Atlanta. He was also a member of the 200-meter medley relay team that also set the Notre Dame record for that event at last year's ACC Championships. Out of the pool, Rob is a two-time ACC All-Academic Team selection and is enrolled in the Mendoza College of Business as a management consulting major. He will be honored with his fellow seniors during Senior Day festivities this Saturday during the second day of the Shamrock Invitation.
Rob, welcome. Thanks for being with me.
Thanks for having me.
Senior Day. Do you feel like it's come quickly?
You don't even if you told me 4 years ago that I was going to make it to a senior day, or even when I was in high school that I was going to be a senior at Notre Dame and a leader on the team, I wouldn't have believed you. But it goes unbelievably fast.
You have been part of one of the hardest things to do in sport, which is to really turn around a program, and you are one of the leaders that helps do that. You must take enormous satisfaction in where the program is today.
Yeah, satisfaction, but also you're always looking forward, right? You're always looking to the next step, and I think my fellow seniors and myself have really set the young guys up on a path and help turn the program around and kind of set the foundation, along with our new coaching staff when we combine teams, and they've really helped us and we help them. We kind of complement each other, but I can't say that I take credit as being the only leader. It took our whole senior class of really we had a lot of different personalities, but buckling down and doing what was best for the team rather than the individual self.
You've had a lot of personal success and relay success, obviously. Where's the preference, the backstroke or the IM?
Definitely the backstroke. The IM is just kind of the off-day event that I have.
No one prefers the IM, do they?
I don't think so. Usually breaststrokers are big IMers, but I'm definitely prefer the backstroke. But there's really nothing like a good relay. The relays, swimming with your three other guys, is really I don't know, it seems everyone always swims a little bit faster in the relay because you're swimming with your whole team. Swimming's a pretty individual sport while you're racing, even though the crowd's cheering, you don't really hear too much of that. But the relays, and you really get behind it and get behind your teammates, and that's definitely the most fun.
I love the atmosphere in pools during big meets. I've spent a lot of time in Olympic trials and other events, and there's something about the acoustics in pools and how, but there's no sport in which the team gets more involved, sort of in cheering for its teammates than swimming.
Oh yeah, it can get really intense. A big race, and swimming's a sport where we don't always have the most fans at every dual meet, but you get invested in the other swimmers, right? Sometimes, I care about more what, a freshman is doing next to me that I'm kind of looking after in practice. And then when I see him have a good race, I even get more pumped up than when I have a good race. So you really get invested in other people's races because, not everyone has a total, complete understanding of swimming, right? It's not a super popular sport, but it's really fun to see when everyone's swimming fast and you just kind of get the ball rolling when one person's swimming fast, and then everyone wants to join in on the fun.
Well, at least you're master of the one stroke where people can actually see who you are when you're doing it, right? you're on your back, so we can tell you are. One of the changes that occurred while you were here in the program was the combining of the men's and women's program into a single unit. What's that been like?
Well, at first, I'm going to be honest, it was a little difficult. It's definitely a change. Well, coming from high school, most people swim combined, right? There's not really a men's club team. So you get used to that, and then the first year and a half or so was just men's, and so you kind of get used to that, and it's definitely a lot more aggressive and things like that. But you could really tell a difference at dual meets, and I'm sure you could as well when it was split. The energy was real low. Like it was the guys would stand up and cheer for the guys' races, and then sit down for the girls, and the girls and vice versa. But now, at the dual meets, everyone is always up and cheering, and that energy is even more so, and it brings the best out of people. And in practice too, you get to the leaders really rise to the top, and then that kind of brings everyone into one unit rather than, having the girls leaders and the guys leaders. Everyone is always kind of combined, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It definitely took some getting used to, but now I think we're definitely reaping the benefits of having a combined program.
In a week when you're not tapering,
yeah,
what does it look like for you? What are you doing?
Yeah, so we definitely bump up right against the 20-hour time allotment. We'll do 3 doubles a week, which is swim in the morning and then swim at night for an hour and a half in the morning and 2 hours at night. And then on the days where we don't double swim, we'll lift and swim. So we'll swim in the afternoon. We get the morning off on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we'll lift in those afternoons. So 2 hours swim and then an hour lift.
Is the lifting routine, does it vary much by stroke for specialists, or is it pretty much the same?
Yeah, so this year we actually have a new strength coach, Cale, and he's really done a great job in embracing, breaking up the strokes a little bit more and thinking a lot more about dynamic movements, because swimming, the last thing you want to be is heavy, bulky in the water, right? You don't want to be a football player in the water. So thinking about those dynamic movements, and breaststrokers will do different stuff than backstrokers, and it's even more so by distance, right? So the sprinters will do a sprinter workout, so it's a little more explosive, a little bit more weight usually. And then I'm in the mid distance, and we do our own thing. And then distance, they do more like just like plyometrics and movements rather than not too many weights.
Home is New Jersey, right?
Yes.
Hometown?
Yep.
Why Notre Dame?
Why Notre Dame? Coming up on senior day, I've been thinking about that a lot because we do a little speech at the Shamrock. And it checks all the boxes that you look at when you're looking at a school, right? You're being recruited, and but a lot of schools check all those boxes. And so to me, what it comes down to, and looking back, I think even more so, you realize just being around the people, right? It's the people that make your experience better. Right. I was talking about this with my girlfriend actually. Like, South Bend is great, and it's a lot different than New Jersey, but and the weather can be not so great sometimes as we see. But you learn to deal with that, and it's the people that are around you that makes the experience the best in the country, right? You're not going to experience having in a school with only 10,000 people, 10,000 undergraduates thereabouts. And only 4,000 student athletes about. So many leaders, and like Jerry said in the last segment, the Rosenthal Leadership Academy, and it's amazing how many people get to experience that, because we're all leaders, and we're all leaders in high school, and that's kind of what drew us to Notre Dame. So it's kind of like like attracts like. So it's been a really great experience, and the people definitely make this place really special.
Now, there's a lot of swimming and a lot of school left, but what comes after this for you?
Yeah, so shoulder surgery. Actually, I have a torn labrum, so I'm getting shoulder surgery after the season. But so next year I'm going back to New Jersey. Actually, I'm working for E&J Gallo Winery.
Oh, great.
Yeah, James Bent, who's an alumni who used to play football. He recruited me on campus, and again, it's funny how I gravitated towards a place where I never really saw myself there, but it's great people, and everyone that I met there was really charismatic and seemed like they really loved what they were doing. So the people kind of gravitated me towards Gallo. So I'm excited for that.
And I assume swimming will always be part of your life.
Yeah, swimming will. Being from New Jersey, I grew up in the ocean, so surfing and being in the ocean is definitely something I hope to never stop. Maybe take a little bit time off for after surgery, but I'll definitely get back in as soon as I can.
Well, listen, thanks for being here, but especially thanks for all the leadership you've provided to this program and all the help you've given and getting it to a place where it really has found its place in the national landscape.
Absolutely, and thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll be back in a minute.
He scores! The Irish win! Notre Dame wins!
Welcome back to the Jack Swarbrick Show. Time to wrap things up for this week. And Jack, we've covered a lot of ground on this show, but one thing we haven't mentioned that we need to, men's tennis program's off to a heck of a start.
Great start. Both programs are. The women got a great 7-zip victory against Western Michigan to start their season, but the guys have really been playing so well. They beat Michigan State 6-1 and then Kentucky 4-3, highly ranked Kentucky squad, and 4-2 against Cleveland State. They've been led by junior Alex Lebedev, who when we had Ryan on the show, what was that, a week ago or 2 weeks ago, he talked about how well Alex was playing and the role he would play in leading this team, and he certainly knew what he was talking about, because not only is a singles player, but he was the ACC Player of the Week, but then in doubles he teamed with freshman William Howells to be the ACC doubles team of the week. So they are off to a very good start. Excited about both those programs. Fencing's also in a great position, ranked first in both men's and women's. Last Saturday at the St. John's Super Cup, the men went 2-2 and the women 4-0. So great for our winter sports and spring sports to get started the way they have.
And folks can come out and watch the fencing team this weekend at the DeChico Duel event in that wonderful fencing facility.
Best in the country.
There's no question about that. And I'm delighted. 2 straight weeks you've been here in the spring semester.
I'm about to cure that. The audience is probably applauding in the background. But yeah, the treadmill starts. I think I got one more week before I'm on the road for the better part of 4.
All right, we'll look forward to visiting with you again next week. Folks, that'll do it for the Jack Swarbrick Show for this week. For Jack, I'm Jack. Thanks for listening, and go Irish.